Look, I want to sit down and really walk you through what's happening with our money right now, because it's a story that's been building for decades, and we just hit a massive turning point. Imagine you're looking at like a giant game of Monopoly, where the banker realizes that they've run out of cash, but they owe all the other players more than they can ever pay back. That's essentially what's happening in the US government right now. The government currently has a $38 trillion debt. They can't pay it off by working harder, and they can't just say, we quit, without breaking the whole world. So they're choosing a third path, which is a quiet and strategic reset. So the reason I'm bringing this to your attention today is the recent news in Venezuela is pretty significant for this reset. It plays a massive role. It's not just about politics, it's about leverage. So Venezuela sits on the world's largest oil reserves, about 303 billion barrels. By stepping in there, the US is trying to do two things. They're trying to make sure that the dollar stays king. Number one, since the 1970s, the world has had to buy oil in US dollars, aka the petrodollar. If we control the oil, we ensure people still need our dollars. The second thing they're doing is controlling the thermostat, or in other words, if the government wants to inflate away the debt, they need to keep the gas prices stable so you don't panic, which they're doing a pretty good job of, by the way. High gas prices make people angry. Moderate gas prices let hidden inflation go unnoticed. This is what I would call a stealth tax. Here's the truth. They don't teach you this in school. After World War II, the US had a similar debt mountain. They didn't pay it back with a check. They used financial repression. They kept interest rates low at like 2%, while inflation ran hot, like 6%. If you had money in a savings account, you were earning interest, but your money was losing value faster than it grew. It's like a bucket of water with a hole in the bottom. You can keep pouring money in, right? Pouring water in the bucket, but the levels just keep dropping because there's a hole in the bottom of the bucket. This is how the government erased half their debt back then, and it's the playbook they're using today. I'm here to try and help my age group learn things that we were not taught that we should have been taught. I think that's valuable, and that's why I'm here. That out of the way, I would like to tell you guys how you can protect yourself given this circumstance. If the value of the dollar is being intentionally diluted to pay off the government's credit card, you can't just sit on cash. You have to think like an owner, not a saver. What do I mean by that? So hard assets, right? You're late to the party, I won't lie, but it's still a safe bet because the prices of silver and gold have been repressed for decades. Gold and silver have been the fire alarms for currency failure for centuries. That's why central banks are buying them in record amounts right now. The other thing you can do is you can invest your money in businesses through the stock market, but you have to invest in real growth, not hype, right? So you have to look for companies that are actually growing at 20% plus a year, businesses that can raise their prices as inflation goes up. So stuff that's in demand, right? You have to look for in demand growth. Lastly, real estate. Real estate is always the best in this realm for this reason. Using a fixed rate mortgage is one of the few ways an average person can beat the system. As a dollar becomes worth less, the real value of your debt shrinks. So you owe the same amount of money, but because the money is now worth less, you actually made money, even though you were carrying debt, because you, over time, start to beat the bank. So what's the bottom line? The reset is already happening. The government is going to protect itself by making the money in your pockets worth less. You can either be the person who foots the bill or the person who owns the assets the government can't print. Come leave the matrix.